and I'm feeling humbled because this is the first Sfuchas annual scientific conference, and to present this work is a privilege to me. Thanks for it. So I'm going to present on. I'm going to present on the epidemiological dynamics of levees in southeast Tanzania and its impact on local communities. So this is an overview of my talk, and I have the introduction, set objective, methods, results, and summary. As Dr. Carol explained, that 60% of infectious disease originated from animals, and rabies is one of them. So rabies is the major public health problem. It is fatal disease. The case fatality rate is 100%. It's not the same like other infectious diseases like malaria, where we have the number of cases and the number of deaths is different. But for rabies, if you have 100 cases and you have 100 deaths. So you can see every 15 minutes someone is dying because of rabies. So at the end of this presentation, at least someone will be dying of rabies. And 99% of human cases is that from domestic dogs. So if you're bitten by rabid dogs, you're going to get rabies. And just 1% is originated from other mammals like cats, hyena, and jackals. So 4 out of 10 deaths are in children, so the major burden is in children. So however, rabies is 100% preventable disease. So we vaccinate humans to save their life because the vaccine are effective, but also we vaccinate dogs to stop transmission. If there is no bite from suspected rabid animals, that's it's equal to that there is no rabies. And then the World Organization for Animal Health, WHO, and the FAO, they came together with a strategy to end rabies by 2030, and this strategy we call 0 by 7. So you can check from the global burden of rabies. Over 98% of rabies cases occur in Africa. Can you see in Africa, Southeast Asia, and in Latin America. So other countries like Europe and Australia, they have already eliminated the disease. So how can we prevent human rabies? So WHO recommend for post-exposure prophylaxis. So when we say PP or post-exposure prophylaxis, we mean to wash the wounds using water and soap. Vaccination, you can see those are vaccine, but also to administer rabies immunoglobulin for the severe wounds. So WHO recommended different regimen and how you can administer this. You can administer this PP, and the first one you can use intramuscular, which requires 5 doses or 5 clinics. And this is administered 1 ml per person, and it's administered on day 0, day 3, day 7, 14, 28, and day 28. But also you can, I know most of them you are doctors, but also you can administer for someone who has been exposed to rabies by intradermal, and the intradermal, you can see this mark is tunasema mchanja kwa ngozi not kwa msuri. So this, it requires at least 4 doses. There are different regimens. Recent WHO introduced a new regimen which takes just 1 week on day 0, day 3, and day 7. So I decided to use this. And with this intradermal, it's administered 0.2 ml per person, 0.1 on the left arm and 0.1 on the right arm. So if the country will move from using intradermal, it means 1 vial can be used for 5 because every patient will require just 0.2 ml. So, but an open dose should be discarded after 8 hours. So this one intradermal is cost effective compared to intramuscular because you take all 1 ml. So what happens for someone if he's bitten by suspected blood animal? So if you're bitten at home, you will travel to the nearest health facility So if you get PP, you're very lucky. But if you miss PP, you either return home because you can't afford the cost, or you will proceed to go to another major hospitals. You meant like maybe the first you go to the dispenser or to health facilities, and then you miss PP, and then you proceed to go to the district hospital. But if you get PP, you're very lucky. But if you miss PP, you return home to die. Or you get another referral, like here from St. Francis, you get referral to go to Mogo Regional Hospital or to go to Louisville. So if you're living in rural, it's a long journey to get PP. But if you're living in metropolitan, like if you're living in Ifakara, probably if there's PP at Ifakara, it's easier for you to get PP. But otherwise, if you miss here at Ifakara, you need to travel to another major hospitals. So the objective of my work was to estimate the bite in this instance, but also to quantify the socio-economic impact of rabies by estimating the cost associated in receiving PP, but also estimating the productive days lost by bite victims seeking PP to identify major factors that prevents access to adequate PP for rabies exposed by victims, but also to calculate the likelihood of completing PP. So the first, I did this research in Ulanga and Kilobero district. We are in Kilobero district here in Ifakara. So the first stage for me was to go to the hospital, and I obtained the hospital records. With this hospital record, they record, So with the hospital record, they record the name of people, and then the age, the sex, and where they came from. So, and then I use these records to follow them, or with this we call contact tracing, to follow back where they live and to do an interviews on what happens. And one interesting question was them to ask what happened to the biting animal. So they will say the same biting animals, maybe bats, or maybe 3 people are bitten by same animals, but only one who come to the hospital. So with that, it's easier for me to know how many people didn't seek PP, so that I can quantify for underreporting for rabies. Because here at the hospital, you can just record one death. Probably there are others were bitten by the same animal, but they didn't seek PP. So doing contact tracing was important for me, but also to ask them the associated cost in receiving PP. So in summary, I have the direct medical cost, which include the PP, consultation fees, syringe, needle, wound treatment cost, but also we have indirect medical costs like travel costs, accommodation costs, other costs like food, airtime to inform people, to inform the family what happens, but also I try to calculate the loss of labor cost due in incapacity or severe wounds, and a loss of labor cost due to and then lots of labor force due to escorts to care, because I said 40% of the beaten are the children. So So children, they need the escort to go to the hospital. And then I calculated the loss of school, how many days were lost for pupils because of seeking PP or waiting for the wounds to heal. So what were the results? So we tried to control. These are the number of bites per district. The blue one is in Ulanga and the other is in Kilomero districts. So you can see here we started dog vaccination in 2008, and we were able to bring down the bites. And then in 2011 we delayed it for 1 year, and there was a short outbreak. And then in 2016 we stopped vaccinating dogs in these 2 districts because our project was ended. And then there was another outbreak, and then WHO, Tanzania, FAO came to have this intervention to control rabies in 2018, and you can see also the cases went down. So I estimated average death instance to be 2.1 per 100,000 people in Ulanga districts and 0.8 per 100,000 people in Kilombero. And for suspected bites case for Ulanga is at 4.3 per 100,000 people in Ulanga and 11.3 per 100,000 people in Kilombero. And then these are the associated costing while I started to calculate. So most in rural areas, they incur a high cost because of the travel costs. They need to travel a lot, and there's frequent shortages of PP in rural areas. And so to get PP, once a single dose in rural, someone needed to pay 2.2.54 US dollar per single dose. So you needed to multiply by the number of doses which are recommended by WHO. So if someone is using Masibra, it means you times by 5. So on average, someone has to pay $100, which you can see what wetu is a little bit difficult for someone to raise $100 to pay for PP. And you know, PP is not included in insurance scheme. So your doctors maybe in future will ask why rabies is not included in insurance scheme. But for urban, it's a little bit cheap, but still is expensive because someone has to pay more or to pay around $20 to complete for single dose. And I tried to identify the factor that prevents access to PP, and we find that high cost of PP, most rural poor white victims cannot afford these costs. As I said, $100 is a lot for people from rural areas to pay for this. But also the distance for health facilities is one of the reasons that prevents a lot of people to access or to have PP. So I tried to calculate like a white victim in rural area took longer on the average to receive PP than those living in urban areas. I mean 5.6 days in rural area compared to urban area, which is on average 3.6. For patients who live 10 kilometers, that was 10 kilometers out actually, 10 kilometers and above, only 39 received PP within 7 days. So the rest they have to hustle to get PP. For those who are living very far from the health facilities. And these health facilities, I mean major health facilities like district hospitals, regional hospitals, or national hospital. So not only those who are bitten by suspected lucky animal get PP on the first day of exposure. So they need maybe 2 or 3 or more days to get PP, because when they go to the health facilities, they actually miss PP, and then they have to go back home to raise some fund so that they can proceed and to get this PP. And most of people from rural areas are the ones who are most affected because they have to travel from long distance in rural areas. There's no electricity for this vaccine to be sold, so most of these vaccines are located in the district hospitals. So take example, someone living in very deep in remote areas in Marini needed to travel all the way to Ifakara and all the way to Morogoro or to Muhimbili to get PP. So the most of the agro-pastoralists are the highest risk of dying because they don't have means. It's so difficult for them to sell their clothes compared to the pastoralists. For the pastoralists, it's much easier for them to sell ng'ombe moja or mbuzi moja to pay for treatment compared to the agro-pastoralists. And then what are the compliance compliance to PP? So not all of the exposed will get PP. As you can see, very few will get the first dose, but not all will return for the second dose, not all will return for the third, for the fourth, and for the fifth dose. And these are putting them at the risk of developing rabies. So, and the reason for for poor compliance, as I said, is cost and the distance to the health facilities. So, in summary, poor PP distribution, because we know, like here in Kilombero, we have 4 health facilities. If this PP will be located, will be distributed into the health facilities, at least the people from Limba, they don't need to come here. They can just get at Limba and reduce the indirect costs such as travel costs and accommodation costs. There's limited accessibility, affordability, availability, adequacy, and the acceptability of PP, ignorance on the dangers of rabies. Most of them, they want to wash their wounds. Most of them, they see that because the wound is healed and the process to get PP is so difficult for me, they decide to stay home and increase the risk of dying of rabies. I think some of senior doctors here have experienced people dying of rabies here in Ifakara. I think it was last year or this year, and he was from Marini. So he delayed, and at the end of the day, he came while it was too late for him to survive. As I said, rabies is 100% case fatality rate. And poor compliance of PP and weak where infrastructure and frequent shortages of PP in the major health facilities. And that's marks the end of my presentation. Thanks so much.
So thank you so much once again, Dr. Maganga Sambo from Institute of Health, Ifakara Health Institute. So after that presentation, we are going to hear also a literature review, that is assessment of roles of health professionals in tackling vicious cycle of communicable diseases in Tanzania. We're going to hear it from Jerome Justin. Jerome Justin, he is the Minister of Education in the Sfuchas students government, and also Jerome Justin, he is a second year medical student at St. Francis University of Health and Allied Sciences. So now I would like to take this chance to welcome Jerome Justin for the next presentation.